grand ballroom. The crystal chandeliers above cast bright light across the crowd of 200 Patterson Marketing Solutions employees, all dressed in their finest evening wear. Everyone was celebrating. Everyone except her. She watched her husband Troy stand at the center of a growing circle of admirers, his white smile gleaming as he held the Marketing Excellence Award trophy high above his head. The applause had finally died down, but people kept approaching him, shaking his hand, patting his back, taking selfies with him and his award. And right there beside him, laughing and touching his arm every few seconds, was Simone Wright in her tight red dress. Natalie took a deep breath and walked toward the group. Maybe if she just stood next to Troy, people would remember she existed. She was his wife after all. She had every right to be part of this moment. As she approached, a woman from accounting glanced at her, then quickly turned her back. Another colleague saw her coming and literally walked away mid-conversation. Natalie's steps faltered, but she pushed forward. "Excuse me," Natalie said softly, trying to squeeze into the circle around Troy. No one moved. No one acknowledged her. It was as if she had spoken into a void. "Troy," she said louder, reaching out to touch his arm. Her husband's eyes slid over her face without recognition, without warmth, without anything at all. He turned his shoulder toward her, blocking her out, and continued his conversation with the VP of sales. Natalie felt heat rush to her cheeks. She tried again, this time stepping directly in front of a junior marketing associate. "Congratulations to the whole team," she offered with a smile. The young woman looked right through her, as if Natalie were made of glass, and moved to the other side of the circle. Something cold settled in Natalie's stomach. This was not an accident. This was not people being distracted by the festivities. This was deliberate. She walked to another group, colleagues she had met at last year's holiday party. "Hello," she said pleasantly. "Great event tonight." One man glanced at her briefly, whispered something to the woman beside him, and they both walked away without a word. Natalie's hands began to shake. What was happening? The company photographer bounced through the crowd, snapping pictures of smiling groups. When he approached Troy, Natalie moved to stand beside her husband for the photo. The photographer held up his hand. "Just Mr. Brooks and his team, please," the photographer said. Natalie stepped back, confused. She watched as Troy posed with Simone and 3 other team members, all of them grinning like they had won the lottery. "Could I get one with?" Natalie started. "We're keeping it to award winners and their direct team tonight," the photographer interrupted, already moving to the next group. But Natalie wasn't on his direct team, even though she had created every single campaign that won Troy that award. She moved through the ballroom like a ghost, trying to join conversations, trying to catch someone's eye, trying to exist. But everywhere she went, people turned away. Some whispered as she passed. Others simply pretended they did not see her at all. Near the bar, she overheard 2 women talking. "I heard she's completely unstable," one whispered. "Poor Troy," the other replied. "Imagine being married to someone like that. He's such a good man for staying as long as he did. I heard he's finally leaving her. About time. She's been holding him back for years." Natalie's vision blurred. She gripped the edge of a table to steady herself. How long had people been saying these things? How long had Troy been painting her as crazy? She looked across the room at her husband. He was laughing now, his arm around Simone's waist. Not just touching, holding, claiming. And Simone looked up at him like he had hung the moon. Nobody cared that Natalie was watching. Nobody cared that she was there at all. The CEO, Mr. Gerald Harrison, took the stage and tapped the microphone. The room quieted down. "What an incredible evening," Mr. Harrison said, his voice booming through the speakers. "Troy Brooks has truly shown us what excellence in marketing looks like. His campaigns have brought this company to new heights." More applause. Troy waved, soaking it all in. Natalie felt sick. Those were her campaigns. Her ideas. Her sleepless nights. Her brilliance. "Before we conclude tonight's ceremony," Mr. Harrison continued, adjusting his glasses as he looked down at his notes, "there is one more name I need to call." The room buzzed with curiosity. Another award? A surprise announcement? Natalie started to turn away, ready to leave this nightmare and never look back. "Natalie Brooks," Mr. Harrison said clearly, his eyes scanning the crowd. "Could you please come to the stage?" The ballroom went completely silent. Natalie froze. Every eye in the room turned to find her. The same people who had ignored her, dismissed her, whispered about her, now stared at her with confusion and shock. Troy's face drained of all color. The trophy nearly slipped from his hands. Simone's mouth fell open. And Natalie, with her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears, began walking toward the stage. Her legs felt like they might give out, but she kept moving forward. Through the crowd that now parted for her. Past her husband whose eyes were wide with panic. Past Simone who looked like she might throw up. Mr. Harrison extended his hand to help her up the stairs onto the stage. His smile was kind, professional, and something else. Something that looked like respect. Natalie took the microphone with shaking hands and looked out at the sea of faces. All those people who had treated her like she was nothing. What was about to happen would change everything. 6 months before that ceremony, Natalie had been happy. Or at least she thought she was happy. She hummed while making coffee in their small kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows of their modest 2-bedroom house in the suburbs. "Morning, beautiful," Troy said, kissing her cheek as he grabbed his travel mug. He looked sharp in his gray suit, his dark hair freshly cut, his cologne expensive. "Big presentation today. Wish me luck." "You do not need luck," Natalie said, smiling at him. "You have me." It was their inside joke. Except it was not really a joke at all. Natalie and Troy had been married for 5 years. They met in college, both studying business and marketing. She had been the star student, winning competitions, getting job offers before graduation. Troy had been charming, funny, and honest about not being the smartest person in the room. But he loved her and she loved him, and that felt like enough. After college, Natalie had taken a position at a top marketing firm in the city. The hours were brutal, the pressure intense, but she thrived. She was on track to become one of the youngest directors in the company's history. Then her mother got sick. Cancer. Natalie needed flexibility to care for her, to drive her to appointments, to be there during the hard days. She left her corporate job and started freelancing from home. Troy got hired at Patterson Marketing Solutions, a mid-sized but growing firm with good benefits. It seemed like a perfect arrangement. Natalie could work on her own schedule, make decent money from consulting, and be there for her mother. 2 years ago, her mother passed. Natalie thought she might return to corporate life, but Troy had a different idea. "Stay home a little longer," he had said, holding her as she grieved. "You've been through so much. Take time to heal. I'm doing well at Patterson. We will be fine." She had agreed, appreciating his support. But working from home while Troy climbed the corporate ladder left her feeling disconnected and invisible. She missed being part of a team, missed the energy of an office, missed having her work recognized. That was when Troy started asking for help. "The company is really competitive," he had said one evening 3 years ago. "Everyone is fighting for the same promotions. I just need a little edge, you know? Could you look at this campaign proposal I am working on? Tell me what you think." She had looked at it. It was weak, uninspired, full of basic mistakes. So she fixed it. She rewrote the entire thing, added her creative touch, and transformed it into something brilliant. Troy presented it at work and got praised by his boss. He came home glowing with excitement. "They loved it," he said, spinning her around the kitchen. "Mr. Harrison said it was the best proposal he had seen in months." "Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much." "Just this once, right?" she had asked. "Of course," he promised. "Just until I get my footing." But once became twice. Twice became weekly. Weekly became constant. For 3 years, Natalie had been the secret engine behind every success Troy claimed at Patterson Marketing Solutions. She created award-winning campaigns for major clients. She wrote presentations that earned standing ovations. She developed marketing strategies that increased company revenue by 40%. And Troy presented all of it as his own work. At first, he had seemed guilty about it. He would thank her profusely, promise to give her credit eventually, swear that once he got promoted to senior manager, he would bring her into the company officially as his partner. But as the praise piled up and his salary increased, his gratitude faded. The promises became vague. And Natalie found herself working harder and harder to keep him successful while her own identity slowly disappeared. She told herself it was temporary. She told herself she was helping her husband, being a good wife, being a team player. She told herself that his success was their success. But lately things felt different. Troy came home later and later, always with excuses about client meetings and team dinners. He was glued to his phone, texting constantly, smiling at messages he would not share with her. When she asked about his day, his answers were short and defensive. "You wouldn't understand," he would say. "It's complicated office stuff." One name came up more than any other: Simone. "Simone thinks we should pitch to a younger demographic. Simone suggested we use social media influencers." Simone and I stayed late to finish the budget report. Natalie tried not to feel jealous. Simone was just a coworker, she told herself. Troy was allowed to have female colleagues. But the way he said her name with just a little too much warmth made Natalie's stomach twist with doubt. Still, she pushed those feelings aside. She trusted Troy. She had to trust him. They were married. They were building a life together. One evening in late March, Troy came home practically bouncing with excitement. "Guess what?" he said, grabbing her hands. "I have been nominated for the Marketing Excellence Award. It is the biggest honor at Patterson. The award ceremony is in September. There will be executives from all over the industry there. This could be my ticket to VP, Natalie." "That is incredible," she said, genuinely happy for him. "I could not have done any of this without you," Troy said, pulling her into a hug. "You are amazing." For a moment, Natalie felt seen, felt valued, felt like maybe all the invisible work was worth it. "Will I get to come to the ceremony?" she asked. "Of course," Troy said. "You will be right there with me. I want everyone to see my beautiful wife." But something in his eyes when he said it felt off. Like he was reading lines from a script he did not believe. Natalie chose to ignore that feeling. She chose to believe him. That was her mistake. 2 weeks before the award ceremony, Natalie was putting the finishing touches on Troy's acceptance speech. He had not even tried to write it himself. He just sent her a list of people to thank and told her to make it sound good. She sat at Troy's desk in their spare bedroom, which he used as a home office when he worked from the house. Her own laptop was charging, so she borrowed his. He was in the shower, and she needed to email him the speech draft so he could review it during his commute tomorrow. She opened his email and typed his address into the recipient field. As she was about to attach the document, a message notification popped up in the corner of the screen. It was not an email. It was a message from the company's internal chat system. "Simone Wright, can't wait until you finally leave her. Tonight was amazing. She has no idea you're about to become VP and we can finally be together openly. Just 2 more weeks." Natalie's fingers froze above the keyboard. The words blurred in and out of focus as she read them again and again. "Leave her. Tonight was amazing. She has no idea." Her hands moved before her brain could catch up. She clicked on the message thread. Months of messages appeared. Hundreds of them. Starting 8 months ago. She scrolled up to the beginning. "Troy Brooks, you looked incredible in that blue dress at the client dinner. Couldn't stop thinking about you. Simone Wright, stop, you're married. Troy Brooks, unhappily married. There's a difference." Natalie felt like someone had shoved ice water into her lungs. She kept scrolling. The messages got bolder, more explicit, more cruel. "Troy Brooks, Natalie has no idea what she's doing. She just sits at home all day while I'm out here building my career. Simone Wright, doesn't she help you with your work? Troy Brooks, she types up some stuff I tell her to write. She's basically my assistant. The real genius is mine." Natalie's vision went red around the edges. More messages. Pictures. Troy and Simone at restaurants. Troy and Simone in hotel rooms. Troy and Simone kissing in his car. And then she found messages that made her blood turn cold. "Troy Brooks, I've been telling people at work that Natalie has some mental health issues. Nothing serious, just that she gets anxious and paranoid. Especially about me working with other women. I'm laying the groundwork so when I leave her, everyone will understand. Simone Wright, smart. You don't want people thinking you're the bad guy. Troy Brooks, exactly. By the time the award ceremony comes around, I'll have the VP position locked in. Right after that, I'll serve her with divorce papers. My lawyer says because she doesn't work and I've been the sole earner for years, she won't get much. Plus, if I can prove mental instability, it'll go even smoother." Natalie covered her mouth with her hand to keep from screaming. There was more. So much more. Troy had been showing Simone pieces of Natalie's work. Letting Simone present some of her ideas as Simone's own during team meetings. Building up Simone's reputation using Natalie's brilliance. They mocked her in the messages. Called her naive. Called her stupid. Called her boring. "Simone Wright, does she really not know you're cheating? Troy Brooks, she's clueless. Too trusting. It's actually kind of sad how easy this has been." Natalie sat in the chair, staring at the screen, her whole body numb. She heard the shower turn off down the hall. Troy would be out in 5 minutes. Her hands started moving again, faster now. She opened her email on her phone and sent herself screenshots of everything. Every message. Every picture. Every cruel word. She created a new folder in his documents and found files she had never seen before. Expense reports where Troy had charged the company for expensive dinners with Simone, labeling them as client meetings. Hotel rooms. Jewelry. All paid for with company money. She copied everything to a USB drive she found in the desk drawer. Then she deleted her browsing history on his laptop, closed all the windows, and pulled up just her email with the speech attachment. By the time Troy walked into the room in his bathrobe, toweling his hair dry, Natalie was standing by the window, her face perfectly calm. "Did you send the speech?" he asked. "Just did," she said, her voice steady. "Check your email." He did not even look at her. He just picked up his laptop and clicked through to his inbox. "Looks good," he said, barely glancing at the document. "You're the best." The words that used to make her feel valued now felt like poison. "Anything else you need?" she asked. "Nope. I'm going to bed. Big day tomorrow." He kissed her forehead like she was a child, like she was nothing, and walked out of the room. Natalie stood there in the darkness, the USB drive clutched in her fist. Her heart was pounding, but her mind was clear. She was not going to fall apart. She was not going to cry and beg and scream. She was going to be smart. She was going to be strategic. She was going to make sure that when Troy's world came crashing down, he would know exactly who brought the hammer. But first she needed a plan. Natalie did not sleep that night. While Troy snored peacefully in their bed, she sat in the living room with her laptop, organizing everything she had found. She created a folder titled Evidence, and started building her case like she was preparing for the most important presentation of her life. Because in many ways she was. First, proof that she had created all the work Troy claimed as his own. She went through her personal laptop and external hard drives, pulling up every original file. Every campaign concept had metadata showing the date and time she created it. Every document had her name in the file properties as the author. She had rough drafts, brainstorming notes, research documents, everything that showed the creative process from start to finish. She compared her original files with the final versions Troy submitted at work. They were nearly identical, with only minor formatting changes. In some cases, Troy had literally copied and pasted her work word for word into company templates. She made a detailed spreadsheet listing every project, the date she created it, the date Troy presented it, and the outcome. 16 major campaigns over 3 years. All successful. All hers. Second, proof of the affair. She organized the screenshots of messages between Troy and Simone into a timeline. She included the explicit messages, the photos, and most importantly, the messages where they discussed his plan to divorce her and destroy her reputation. She also found receipt records on Troy's email for charges that never appeared on their joint credit card. A separate credit card she did not know about. Hotels, restaurants, gifts. All for Simone. Third, proof of financial fraud. Troy had been using company funds for personal expenses. Charging dinners with Simone as business meetings. Booking hotel rooms and listing them as conference accommodations. Buying expensive gifts and calling them client appreciation purchases. She downloaded his expense reports for the past 8 months. Then she cross-referenced them with the receipts and messages to Simone. The evidence was clear. Troy was stealing from Patterson Marketing Solutions. By 3 in the morning, Natalie had compiled everything into a comprehensive presentation. 52 slides. Each one backed by documentation, screenshots, and proof. She titled it, The Truth About Troy Brooks. She saved it to 3 USB drives, uploaded it to 2 different cloud storage accounts, and emailed it to herself at 4 different email addresses. Then she sat back and thought about what to do next. She could confront Troy directly, but what would that accomplish? He would lie, manipulate, and probably accelerate his plans to leave her. The company would believe him over her. She would look like the jealous, paranoid wife he had already told everyone she was. No. She needed to go to someone with authority. Someone who could verify her claims and take action. She thought about Mr. Gerald Harrison, the CEO. But she had never met him. She had no direct connection to him. Then she remembered Beverly Clark. Beverly was the HR director at Patterson Marketing Solutions. Natalie had met her once at a company picnic 2 years ago. Troy had been schmoozing with the executives, and Beverly had ended up sitting at Natalie's table. They talked for over an hour about everything from books to travel to the challenges of working in male-dominated industries. Beverly had given Natalie her card. "If you ever want to grab coffee or need anything, call me," she had said. Natalie had kept that card in her wallet, never expecting to use it. She pulled it out now and stared at the phone number. It was 4 in the morning. Too early to call. But maybe she could send an email. She opened her personal email and started typing. "Dear Mrs. Clark, I hope you remember me. We met at the company picnic 2 years ago. My name is Natalie Brooks. I am Troy Brooks' wife. I am reaching out because I have uncovered serious misconduct involving my husband and one of his colleagues. This includes intellectual property theft, financial fraud, and deliberate sabotage of my professional reputation. I have compiled substantial evidence that I believe the company needs to see. I would like to request a private meeting with you after the upcoming awards ceremony. I understand this is an unusual request, but I assure you the matter is both urgent and significant. I have documentation proving that the work Troy has been presenting as his own for the past 3 years was actually created by me. I also have evidence of financial irregularities in his expense reports and communications that show premeditated fraud. Please let me know if you would be willing to meet with me. I can provide a preview of the evidence if needed. Sincerely, Natalie Brooks. She attached a 2-page summary document, just enough to show she was serious without revealing everything. Then she hit send. She closed her laptop and sat in the dark living room, watching the sky slowly turn from black to gray to pale blue. Birds started singing outside. The world was waking up, completely unaware that Natalie Brooks had just declared war. Around 6:30 her phone buzzed. An email from Beverly Clark. Natalie, of course I remember you. I'm very concerned by what you've shared. I would like to meet with you as soon as possible. Would you be available tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m.? We can meet at the coffee shop on Maple Street, away from the office. This is a serious matter and I want to give it the attention it deserves. Please bring whatever documentation you have. Thank you for coming forward. Beverly. Natalie felt tears sting her eyes for the first time since discovering the messages. Not tears of sadness but tears of relief. Someone believed her. Someone was going to listen. She typed back a quick confirmation, then got up to start the coffee. Troy would be awake soon, expecting her to make him breakfast, expecting her to smile and act like everything was normal. And she would. For 2 more weeks, she would play the role of the devoted, clueless wife. Because the trap was set. And Troy Brooks had no idea he was about to walk right into it. The next 13 days were the hardest of Natalie's life. Not because of the betrayal, she had already processed that pain. Hard because she had to pretend everything was fine while watching her husband prepare for his moment of glory, completely unaware that it was about to be ripped away from him. The day after she emailed Beverly, Natalie met her at the coffee shop as planned. She brought her laptop and one of the USB drives containing all her evidence. Beverly, a tall woman with gray streaks in her black hair and intelligent eyes behind stylish glasses, sat across from her with a notepad and a serious expression. "Show me what you have," Beverly said gently. Natalie opened her laptop and walked Beverly through everything. The timeline of stolen work. The messages between Troy and Simone. The financial fraud. The plan to destroy her reputation and divorce her right after securing his promotion. Beverly's expression grew darker with each piece of evidence. She took notes, asked clarifying questions, and requested copies of specific documents. "This is worse than I thought," Beverly said finally. "Much worse. The intellectual property theft alone is a fireable offense. The financial fraud is potentially criminal. And the deliberate reputation sabotage is harassment." "What happens now?" Natalie asked. "I need to bring this to Mr. Harrison immediately," Beverly said. "He's out of town this week for a conference, but he'll be back 3 days before the awards ceremony. I'll present this to him directly. He'll want to verify everything, which means we'll need to access Troy's company accounts and expense records." "Will Troy know I'm the one who reported him?" "Eventually, yes. But not until we've completed our investigation. I'll list you as a confidential informant in my initial report." Beverly reached across the table and squeezed Natalie's hand. "You're doing the right thing. What he did to you, what he's doing to this company, it's not acceptable. You deserve better." Natalie felt something loosen in her chest. Someone saw her. Someone believed her. Someone was on her side. "There's something else I want to propose," Beverly said carefully. "The vice president of creative strategy position that Troy is being considered for. You created the work that made him a candidate. You have the talent and the credentials. Would you be interested in that position?" Natalie's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Once this investigation is complete and Troy is terminated, we'll need someone brilliant to lead our creative division. You're more than qualified. You've essentially been doing the job for 3 years already. We just need to make it official and give you the recognition you deserve." For the first time since discovering the affair, Natalie smiled a real smile. "Yes," she said. "I would be very interested." "Good. Leave the rest to me." They spent another hour going over details, planning the timeline, and making sure every piece of evidence was accounted for. When Natalie left the coffee shop, she felt like she had just suited up for battle. Back at home, Troy was in full preparation mode for the ceremony. He had rented an expensive tuxedo. He rehearsed his acceptance speech in front of the mirror, the speech Natalie had written for him. "How do I sound?" he asked her one evening. She was folding laundry and had to bite her tongue to keep from screaming the truth at him. "You sound great," she said instead, her voice flat. He did not even notice her lack of enthusiasm. He was too absorbed in his own fantasy. The phone rang one evening while Troy was in the shower. Natalie answered. "Hello." There was a pause, then a quick hang-up. Natalie checked the caller ID. It was a cell phone number she did not recognize, but she knew it had to be Simone. When Troy came out, wrapped in a towel, Natalie handed him the phone. Someone called and hung up. Troy's face flickered with panic for just a second, then smoothed over. "Probably a spam call," he said, not meeting her eyes. "Probably," Natalie agreed, though they both knew the truth. She watched him text someone rapidly on his phone, his face tense. When he caught her looking, he put the phone away and smiled. "What do you want for dinner?" he asked. Like everything was normal. Like he was not planning to humiliate her and leave her. Like he had not spent months lying to her face. 3 days before the ceremony, Troy took a phone call in the backyard where he thought she could not hear. But Natalie stood by the window and listened. "The papers are ready," Troy said to whoever was on the other end, probably his lawyer. "I'll serve her right after I get the VP announcement. She won't see it coming." He laughed. Actually laughed. Natalie gripped the windowsill so hard her knuckles turned white. She wanted to march outside and throw his betrayal in his face. But she did not. Because her revenge was going to be so much better than a private confrontation. She had bought a new dress for the ceremony. It was royal blue, elegant and professional, with a fitted bodice and a flowing skirt. She looked beautiful in it. Powerful. Troy barely glanced at it when she showed him. "Nice," he said absently, scrolling through his phone. The morning of the ceremony, Natalie woke up before dawn. She could not sleep. In just a few hours, everything would change. She showered, did her makeup carefully, styled her hair in soft curls. She put on her blue dress and silver heels. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. The woman looking back at her was not the invisible, taken-for-granted wife. She was someone stronger. Someone who was about to take her life back. Troy came up behind her, already dressed in his tuxedo. For a moment, they stood there in the mirror together, looking like the perfect couple. "Ready?" he asked. "More than you know," Natalie said. They drove to the venue in silence. Troy was nervous, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel, checking his phone constantly. Simone had texted him good luck with a string of heart emojis. Natalie saw it when his phone lit up. She said nothing. When they arrived at the grand ballroom, Troy immediately abandoned her to network with colleagues. Natalie stood alone, watching the crowd gather, watching people laugh and drink champagne. She saw Simone arrive in her tight red dress, making a beeline straight for Troy. She saw them whisper to each other, saw the way Troy's hand lingered on Simone's lower back. She saw Mr. Harrison arrive with Beverly at his side. They both glanced at Natalie briefly, their expressions unreadable. The trap was set. The evidence had been reviewed. The decision had been made. Now all that was left was to spring it. Natalie picked up a glass of champagne from a passing server and took a sip. Her hand was steady. Tonight, the whole world would finally see the truth. "Natalie Brooks, please come to the stage." The words echoed through the ballroom speakers like thunder. Natalie's heart hammered in her chest, but she forced herself to walk steadily through the parted crowd. Every face turned toward her with confusion, curiosity, and in some cases, shock. Troy looked like he might pass out. His face had gone from its normal brown tone to an ashy gray. The trophy trembled in his hands. Simone grabbed his arm, whispering urgently, but Troy just stared at Natalie like she was a ghost he could not explain. Natalie climbed the steps to the stage, her heels clicking against the polished wood. Mr. Harrison extended his hand to help her up, and she took it gratefully. Her legs felt like water, but she made it to the microphone. The CEO stood beside her, still holding his notes, his expression serious but not unkind. He addressed the silent crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, I need to share something important with you all tonight," Mr. Harrison began. His voice was calm but carried weight. 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by our HR director, Beverly Clark, regarding serious allegations about misconduct within our company. A ripple of whispers spread through the room. People shifted uncomfortably. Troy's face somehow went even paler. These allegations involved intellectual property theft, financial fraud, and workplace harassment, Mr. Harrison continued. "I want you to know that we took these allegations very seriously and conducted a thorough investigation over the past 2 weeks. Beverly Clark stepped onto the stage as well, carrying a leather folder. She stood on Natalie's other side, a silent show of support. The investigation revealed that Troy Brooks has been submitting work created by another person as his own for approximately 3 years, Mr. Harrison said. Every campaign, every strategy, every presentation that earned him praise and advancement was created by someone else. Someone who received no credit, no compensation, and no recognition. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Someone gasped. Heads turned toward Troy, who stood frozen in place. That someone, Mr. Harrison said, gesturing to Natalie, is Natalie Brooks, his wife. The whispers grew louder. People who had ignored Natalie all evening now stared at her with wide eyes. Mrs. Brooks provided us with extensive documentation proving her authorship of all the work in question, Beverly added, stepping up to the microphone. Original files with metadata, correspondence, drafts showing her creative process and contracts. The evidence is irrefutable. Mr. Harrison's expression hardened. Furthermore, our investigation uncovered financial irregularities in Mr. Brooks' expense reports. He has been using company funds for personal expenses, fraudulently reporting them as business costs. This constitutes embezzlement and is a criminal offense. Troy finally found his voice. "This is ridiculous," he shouted from the crowd. "She's lying. She's trying to sabotage me because she's jealous." "Jealous of what?" Mr. Harrison asked calmly. "The work you stole from her? The money you embezzled? Or the affair you've been having with one of your colleagues?" The room went dead silent. Troy's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Simone, standing next to him, suddenly took 3 large steps away, her face red. "We have messages, Mr. Brooks," Beverly said, pulling papers from her folder. "Hundreds of them. Between you and Miss Simone Wright. Messages that not only prove the affair but also show premeditation in your plan to steal intellectual property, defraud the company, and destroy your wife's reputation." She held up printed screenshots, large enough for people nearby to see. Even from a distance, the explicit nature of the messages was clear. "You told your co-workers that your wife was mentally unstable," Mr. Harrison said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "You spread rumors. You isolated her. You made her invisible in this company so that when you stole her work, no one would believe her if she spoke up." Natalie watched Troy's face crumble. He looked around the room desperately, seeking support, but everyone avoided his eyes. "As of this moment," Mr. Harrison announced, "Troy Brooks is terminated from Patterson Marketing Solutions. Security is here to escort you out. You will be required to return all company property immediately. Our legal team will be in contact regarding restitution for the embezzled funds and the intellectual property theft." 2 security guards appeared from the side of the room, professional and stone-faced. They approached Troy, who backed away. "You can't do this," Troy yelled. "I'll sue. This is wrongful termination." "You're welcome to try," Beverly said coolly. "We have binders full of evidence, including proof that you violated your employment contract, the company's code of conduct, and several state and federal laws. I suggest you get a very good lawyer." The security guards took Troy by the arms. He struggled for a moment, still holding the trophy, until one of the guards firmly removed it from his grip. As they led him toward the exit, Troy locked eyes with Natalie. There was rage there, and fear, and something that might have been disbelief that she had actually done this. Natalie stared back at him without flinching. Then Mr. Harrison called out another name. Simone Wright. Simone, who had been trying to slip toward the back exit, froze. All color drained from her face. "Ms. Wright," Mr. Harrison said, "our investigation also revealed your participation in presenting stolen work as your own. Mrs. Brooks' documentation shows that on at least 4 occasions, you used portions of her campaigns in your team presentations, knowing full well the work was not yours." "I didn't know," Simone protested, her voice shrill. "Troy never told me where he got the ideas." Beverly raised an eyebrow. "We have messages where you literally discussed whose work you were stealing. Would you like me to read them aloud?" Simone's mouth snapped shut. "You're suspended pending further investigation," Mr. Harrison said. "Depending on the results, termination is likely. You'll need to surrender your access badge and leave the premises tonight." Another security guard approached Simone, who looked like she might cry. She glanced back at Troy, who was being pushed out the main doors, but he did not even look at her. He was too busy arguing with the guards. The room watched in stunned silence as both Troy and Simone were escorted out. The doors closed behind them with a final, decisive thud. Mr. Harrison turned back to Natalie, and his stern expression softened. Mrs. Brooks, on behalf of Patterson Marketing Solutions, I want to apologize for what you've experienced. You deserved recognition for your extraordinary work, and instead, you were exploited and dismissed. He gestured for her to step forward to the main microphone. But tonight we're going to correct that mistake. Natalie's hands shook as she gripped the microphone stand. She looked out at 200 faces, no longer dismissive or cold, but shocked and attentive. The Marketing Excellence Award that was presented to Mr. Brooks tonight is hereby rescinded, Mr. Harrison announced. And while we cannot give you an award for work that was technically submitted under someone else's name, we can do something better. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. Mrs. Brooks, Patterson Marketing Solutions would like to offer you the position of Vice President of Creative Strategy. This role comes with a substantial salary, full benefits, equity in the company, and most importantly, full credit and intellectual property rights for all the campaigns you created. Natalie felt tears well up in her eyes. She blinked them back, refusing to cry. Not now. We would also like to offer you a settlement for damages to your reputation and compensation for the work you provided without payment, Beverly added, stepping forward with official-looking documents. All the details are here. You don't have to answer tonight. Take time to review everything with a lawyer. But Natalie did not need time. She had spent 3 years invisible, diminished, erased. I accept, she said clearly into the microphone. The room erupted in applause. Real applause this time, not the polite golf claps from earlier. People stood up. Some were clapping because they were genuinely happy for her. Others were probably just relieved not to be associated with the scandal. But Natalie did not care about their motivations. For the first time in 3 years she was seen. She was valued. She was recognized. Mr. Harrison shook her hand firmly. Welcome to Patterson Marketing Solutions, Vice President Brooks. Vice President Brooks. The title Troy had been promised. The title he thought he deserved. It was hers now. The next morning, Natalie woke up in a hotel room. She had left the ceremony early, unable to face the barrage of questions and sudden attention from colleagues who had ignored her hours before. Beverly had helped her slip out a side entrance and even offered to drive her home, but Natalie could not bear the thought of going back to the house she had shared with Troy. So she checked into a nice hotel downtown, ordered room service, and sat by the window watching the city lights, processing everything that had happened. Her phone had exploded with messages. Her email inbox was full. But she ignored all of it and finally allowed herself to feel. She cried. Not because she missed Troy, but because she mourned the version of herself who had believed his lies. She cried for the 3 years she had lost, the confidence that had been slowly stripped away, the dreams she had put on hold. Then she stopped crying, took a shower, ordered a strong cup of coffee and started making plans. By Monday morning, the story had spread through the entire marketing industry. It was a small world, and what happened at Patterson Marketing Solutions was too dramatic to stay quiet. Natalie started seeing articles on marketing blogs with headlines like, "Marketing Executive Exposed for Stealing Wife's Work," and "Patterson Marketing Solutions Terminates Employee for Intellectual Property Theft and Fraud." Troy's name was attached to all of them. His reputation was destroyed. Natalie found she felt nothing about that. No satisfaction, no guilt, no pity. Just a strange emptiness where he used to exist in her thoughts. Her lawyer, a sharp woman named Gabrielle Turner who specialized in intellectual property and family law, met with her Tuesday morning. "You have one of the strongest cases I've ever seen," Gabrielle said, spreading documents across the conference table. "For the divorce, we're pursuing fault-based grounds: adultery, fraud, and economic abuse. Given the evidence, he'll be lucky to walk away with his car." "What about the house?" Natalie asked. "You'll get it. You can prove you contributed to the household through intellectual labor that he exploited for financial gain. A judge will see that clearly. Plus, the financial fraud he committed gives us additional leverage." The divorce papers were filed by Wednesday. Troy tried to call her 47 times that day. She blocked his number. He sent emails. Long ones starting with rage and threats, then shifting to desperate pleas for forgiveness, then cycling back to rage again. She forwarded them all to Gabrielle without reading them completely. "He's panicking," Gabrielle said. "Good. Panic makes people sloppy. He'll probably try to come to the house. I'm drafting a restraining order just in case." Natalie changed the locks on Thursday. She went to the house with Beverly and 2 security guards from Patterson Marketing Solutions, just to be safe. They found Troy had already been there. Clothes were missing from his closet. His PlayStation and laptop were gone. But he had left the expensive watch she had bought him for their anniversary on the bathroom counter with a note that just said, Thanks for nothing. Natalie threw the note away and donated the watch to charity. On Friday, she returned to Patterson Marketing Solutions as an official employee for the first time. Beverly gave her a tour of the building, introducing her to people who suddenly treated her with respect. Some seemed genuinely remorseful about how they had treated her at the ceremony. Others just seemed nervous, probably worried about their own jobs. Her new office was on the executive floor, corner office, huge windows overlooking the city. Her name was already on the door, Natalie Brooks, VP of Creative Strategy. Your team is eager to meet you, Beverly said. I've assigned you the top performers from 3 different departments. They're all excited to work with you. What about the people who worked under Troy? Natalie asked. Most of them are being reassigned. A few asked to work with you specifically. I can arrange meetings if you're interested. Natalie thought about that. Let me settle in first. I want to review current projects and get a sense of where things stand. Take your time. Mr. Harrison made it clear that you have full authority to rebuild the creative division however you see fit. Over the following week, the divorce proceedings moved forward rapidly. Troy's lawyer kept trying to negotiate, but Gabrielle shut down every attempt. He wants joint custody of the house until it sells, Gabrielle reported after one particularly contentious phone call. No, Natalie said firmly. He's claiming he has nowhere to go. Not my problem. He should have thought about that before committing fraud and adultery. That's what I told them, Gabrielle said with a satisfied smile. News about Simone filtered back through office gossip. She had been officially terminated from Patterson Marketing Solutions after the investigation concluded. She was let go from the industry, basically blacklisted. She tried to get a position at 3 different firms, but when they called Patterson for references, the truth came out. Troy had it worse. Not only was he unemployed and in the middle of a messy divorce, but Patterson Marketing Solutions had filed a civil lawsuit against him for the embezzled funds. The total came to over $50,000 in fraudulent expenses over 18 months. Criminal charges were being considered. Natalie heard through a mutual acquaintance that Troy and Simone's relationship had imploded within days of the ceremony. Apparently, Simone blamed Troy for ruining her career, and Troy blamed Simone for encouraging him to commit fraud. They were threatening to sue each other. It would have been funny if it was not so pathetic. The house sold quickly. A young couple with a baby bought it, excited about the good school district and the big backyard. Natalie signed the papers without sentiment. It was just a house. It had never really been a home. She moved into a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment downtown, close to the office, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a balcony overlooking the river. It was hers alone, paid for with her new salary, decorated exactly how she wanted. No compromises. No one else's opinion mattered. For the first time in years, Natalie felt like she could breathe. 3 months after the ceremony, Natalie sat in her office reviewing quarterly reports when Beverly knocked on her door. Got a minute? Beverly asked. Always, Natalie said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. Beverly sat down with a slight smile. I wanted to give you an update on the Troy situation. Figured you'd want to know. Natalie set down her pen. She had been so busy building her new life that she had barely thought about her ex-husband in weeks. What happened? The criminal charges were filed last week. Embezzlement and fraud. His lawyer is trying to negotiate a plea deal, but the DA's office isn't budging. They want to make an example out of him. How much time could he get? 2 to 5 years if convicted. Probably less if he pleads out, but he'll have a criminal record either way. That'll make it nearly impossible to work in marketing or any corporate setting again. Natalie absorbed this information without emotion. Part of her, the part that had loved him once, felt a twinge of pity. But mostly she just felt tired. And Simone? Moved to another state. Oregon, I think. Trying to start over. From what I hear, she's working retail. Can't get a job in marketing anywhere. Beverly hesitated, then continued. Troy tried to contact Mr. Harrison last week. Sent a long email begging for a second chance, claiming you manipulated him and that he was the real victim. Natalie raised an eyebrow. And? Mr. Harrison forwarded it to legal and blocked his email address. No one here is interested in his excuses. Good. There was a pause, then Beverly leaned forward. How are you doing, Natalie? Really? It was the first time anyone had asked her that question in months. Everyone wanted to know about work, about projects, about strategy. No one asked how she felt. I'm good, Natalie said, surprised to find it was true. Better than good, actually. I'm happy. You deserve to be, Beverly said warmly. You've done incredible work these past few months. The entire executive team is impressed. Mr. Harrison was just telling me yesterday that hiring you was the best decision the company has made in years. Natalie felt a flush of pride. I'm just doing what I should have been allowed to do all along. Well, you're doing it brilliantly. After Beverly left, Natalie turned her chair to look out the window at the city below. People rushing to meetings, grabbing coffee, living their lives. She was one of them now. Not invisible. Not diminished. Just herself. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, she worried it might be Troy trying to contact her from a new phone. But when she opened it, the message read, "Hi Natalie, this is Claire from your morning coffee shop. I know this is random, but there's a guy here who comes in at the same time as you every day, and he wanted me to ask if you'd be interested in getting coffee with him sometime? I know it's weird, but he's really nice and respectful and didn't want to bother you directly. No pressure at all. Claire." Natalie laughed out loud. She had been so focused on work and rebuilding her life that she had not even noticed anyone paying attention to her. She thought about it for a moment, then texted back, "Thanks Claire, but I'm not ready to date yet. Tell him I'm flattered though." The reply came quickly, "Totally understand. He said if you ever change your mind, his name is Isaiah and he's there every Tuesday and Thursday." Smiley face. Natalie smiled and put her phone away. Maybe someday she would be ready for that. But not yet. Right now, she was focused on being the best version of herself. That evening, she attended a marketing industry mixer downtown. 6 months ago, she would never have been invited. Now, as VP of Creative Strategy at Patterson Marketing Solutions, people actively sought her out. She spent 2 hours networking, exchanging ideas, and making valuable connections. People wanted to hear her insights. They respected her opinions. They treated her like the expert she was. As she was leaving, a woman approached her. She looked young, maybe 25, nervous but determined. "Miss Brooks? I'm sorry to bother you, but I had to say something." "It's no bother," Natalie said kindly. "What's on your mind?" "I read about what happened with your husband. The whole industry knows about it, and I just wanted to say thank you." Natalie blinked in surprise. "Thank you?" "Yes. I'm in a similar situation. My boyfriend and I work at the same agency, and I've been writing all his client proposals for 2 years. He keeps promising to give me credit, but it never happens. Reading about what you did, how you stood up for yourself, it gave me courage. I'm going to my boss tomorrow and telling her the truth." The young woman's eyes were bright with determination and fear in equal measure. Natalie took her hand and squeezed it gently. "You deserve recognition for your work. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And if your boss doesn't listen, you have options. Document everything. Keep copies of your original files. Protect yourself." "I will. Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Really." As Natalie walked to her car, she felt something shift in her chest. Her pain, her humiliation, her struggle had become something bigger. It was not just about her anymore. She could help other women avoid what she went through. She could use her position to mentor, to advocate, to make sure no one else had to stay invisible. That night, lying in her own apartment, in her own bed, surrounded by silence that was peaceful rather than lonely, Natalie Brooks fell asleep with a smile on her face. She had not just survived. She had won. 6 months after the ceremony, Natalie stood in front of a packed conference room at the National Marketing Summit, preparing to deliver her first keynote speech. The room held 300 marketing professionals from across the country, all there to hear her speak. The title of her presentation, "Protecting Your Creative Work, Intellectual Property and Recognition in a Competitive Industry." She wore a sharp gray suit, her natural hair styled beautifully, her confidence radiating from every pore. As she took the stage, the audience broke into welcoming applause. "Good morning," Natalie began, her voice strong and clear. "My name is Natalie Brooks, and a year ago, I did not exist." The room went quiet, everyone leaning forward to listen. "I was invisible. I created award-winning campaigns that generated millions in revenue, but my name was on none of them. I poured my expertise, my creativity, my sleepless nights into work that someone else took credit for. And I let it happen because I believed in loyalty. I believed in marriage. I believed that my contributions mattered even if no one saw them." She clicked to the next slide, which showed a simple but powerful statement. "Your work has value. Demand recognition." "I'm not here to tell you a revenge story," Natalie continued. "I'm here to talk about protecting yourself in an industry that often rewards those who shout the loudest, not those who create the best work. Intellectual property theft happens every day in big ways and small ways, and it disproportionately affects women, people of color, and junior employees who feel they lack power. For the next 45 minutes, Natalie delivered a presentation that was part cautionary tale, part practical guide, and part rallying cry. She talked about metadata and documents, the importance of maintaining original drafts, how to build a paper trail, and when to escalate concerns to HR or legal. She shared her story, not with bitterness but with clarity and purpose. She explained the warning signs she had missed, the systems that had failed her, and the strategic decisions that ultimately led to justice. The audience was riveted. People took notes furiously. Several women in the crowd wiped away tears. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted a full 3 minutes. During the Q&A session, hands shot up all over the room. "How did you find the courage to come forward?" one woman asked. "It was not courage at first," Natalie admitted. "It was anger. It's into action." "Do you regret staying in your marriage as long as you did?" another person asked. Natalie paused, considering the question carefully. "I regret letting my identity shrink to fit someone else's needs. I regret not valuing my own work enough to protect it sooner. But I don't regret the journey, because it taught me who I am and what I'm capable of." After the presentation, dozens of people lined up to speak with her. Some wanted advice on their own situations. Others just wanted to shake her hand and thank her. A reporter from Marketing Today magazine asked for an interview. "Your story has resonated with so many people. Would you be willing to be featured in our Women in Leadership series?" "Absolutely," Natalie said. Over the following months, the speaking invitations kept coming. Industry conferences, university panels, corporate workshops. Natalie was becoming known not just for her marketing brilliance, but for her advocacy. Patterson Marketing Solutions was thriving under her leadership. The creative division had launched 5 major campaigns in 6 months, each one more successful than the last. Client satisfaction was at an all-time high. Revenue was up 38%. Mr. Harrison called her into his office one afternoon with news that made her heart race. "Natalie, the board has voted to make you a partner in the firm," he said, sliding a contract across his desk. "This comes with equity, profit sharing, and a seat at the executive table for all major company decisions." Natalie stared at the contract, barely able to process what she was hearing. "You've transformed this company," Mr. Harrison continued. "Your leadership, your vision, your integrity, it's exactly what we need. Plus, the publicity from your speaking engagements has been incredible for our reputation. Companies want to work with us because you're here." "I don't know what to say," Natalie whispered. "Say yes," Mr. Harrison said with a warm smile. "You've earned this." She signed the contract right there, her hand steady. That evening, Beverly took her out for celebratory drinks at an upscale restaurant downtown. To Natalie Brooks, Beverly toasted, raising her glass. From invisible to unstoppable. They clinked glasses and Natalie felt gratitude wash over her. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. You believed me when no one else would have. You did the hard part," Beverly said. "You had the courage to come forward and the strength to build something better. That's all you." As they talked and laughed over dinner, Natalie realized she had built something she never expected. Genuine friendships. Beverly had become one of her closest friends. She had connected with other women in the industry who supported and championed each other. She had created a network of people who valued her for exactly who she was. Her phone buzzed with a message from the young woman she had met at the networking event months ago. The one who had been writing her boyfriend's proposals. "Ms. Brooks, I wanted you to know that I left the agency and started my own consulting business. I'm landing clients and finally getting credit for my own work. Thank you for inspiring me to take that leap." Natalie wrote back, "So proud of you. You did the hard work. Keep going." That night, alone in her apartment, Natalie looked around at the life she had built. The beautiful space that was entirely hers. The career that fulfilled her. The respect she had earned. The future that stretched out before her, full of possibility. She thought about Troy, wherever he was, probably still blaming her for his downfall. She thought about how he had tried to make her small, invisible, powerless. And she thought about how completely she had proven him wrong. She had not just survived his betrayal. She had used it as fuel to become someone remarkable. That was the best revenge of all. 1 year after the ceremony that changed her life, Patterson Marketing Solutions hosted another awards night at the same grand ballroom. But this time the energy was completely different. Natalie arrived not as an invisible wife clinging to someone else's shadow, but as a keynote speaker and honored guest. She wore a stunning emerald green dress, her confidence radiating from every pore. The same people who had turned their backs on her a year ago now greeted her warmly. Some still looked embarrassed when they caught her eye, remembering their part in her humiliation. But Natalie had moved beyond resentment. She was gracious and professional with everyone. Beverly met her at the entrance. "You ready for this?" "More than ready," Natalie said. They walked into the ballroom together, and this time, people moved toward Natalie, not away from her. Colleagues wanted to shake her hand. Clients wanted to thank her for brilliant campaigns. Junior employees wanted advice and mentorship. She was no longer invisible. She was celebrated. Mr. Harrison welcomed everyone and began the evening's presentations. There were awards for sales excellence, customer service, and team leadership. Natalie applauded for each winner, genuinely happy to see good work recognized. Then Mr. Harrison called her name. "Our keynote speaker tonight needs no introduction," he said. "In 1 year, Natalie Brooks has transformed our creative division, elevated our company's reputation, and become a voice for integrity and recognition in our industry. Please welcome our partner and VP of Creative Strategy, Natalie Brooks." The applause was genuine and enthusiastic. Natalie walked to the stage, the same stage where her life had changed exactly 1 year ago, and took the microphone with steady hands. She looked out at the crowd, remembering what it felt like to be ignored, dismissed, and treated like she did not matter. Then she looked at who she had become. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Natalie began. "A year ago, I stood in this room and learned a powerful lesson, that staying silent about injustice does not make you humble or patient. It makes you complicit in your own erasure." People shifted in their seats, paying close attention. "Tonight, I want to talk about recognition," Natalie continued. "Not the kind that comes from trophies or titles, though those are nice. I'm talking about the recognition you give yourself. The acknowledgement that your work matters, your voice matters, your presence in any room matters." She shared her journey, not dwelling on the painful parts but focusing on the transformation. She talked about finding allies like Beverly, about learning to document and protect her work, about discovering that asking for what you deserve is not selfish, it's necessary. "I've learned that revenge isn't about destroying someone who hurt you," Natalie said, her voice strong and clear. "Real power comes from building yourself into someone so successful, so fulfilled, so complete that the betrayal becomes just a chapter in your story, not the whole book." She concluded with advice for everyone in the room, especially the women and young professionals. "Protect your work, know your worth, build your network, and never let anyone convince you that your contributions are less valuable than you know them to be." The standing ovation was immediate and thunderous. Natalie stepped off the stage with tears in her eyes, but they were happy tears this time. As people mingled during the reception, a man approached her near the refreshment table. He was tall, with warm brown eyes and an easy smile, wearing a well-fitted navy suit. "Miss Brooks," he said. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "Not at all," Natalie said, recognizing him but not sure from where. "I'm Isaiah Grant. I'm an architect. We've never officially met, but I see you at the coffee shop on Cedar Street most mornings." Natalie's eyes widened slightly. "Isaiah." The name Claire had mentioned months ago. "I heard your speech tonight," Isaiah continued. "I wasn't invited to this event, actually. I'm here as a guest of a client. But I'm glad I came because what you said really moved me. The part about knowing your worth and not letting others diminish your light, that resonated with me." There was something genuine in his eyes, something kind and respectful. No agenda, no game, just honest appreciation. "Thank you," Natalie said. "That means a lot." They talked for a few minutes about architecture and marketing, about the creative process and the challenges of building something meaningful in competitive industries. The conversation flowed easily, naturally, without pressure. "I know you're incredibly busy," Isaiah said as the conversation wound down. "But if you ever wanted to grab coffee, not as a date necessarily, just as two people who appreciate good conversation, I'd really like that." Natalie hesitated for just a moment. A year ago, she would have said no automatically, too hurt and too focused on healing to even consider opening herself up to someone new. But she was not that person anymore. She was stronger now, whole on her own. And maybe that meant she was ready to let someone see that wholeness without fear. "I'd like that too," Natalie said, pulling out her phone. "Let's exchange numbers." Isaiah's smile was genuine and warm. "I promise I'm not that forward usually. There's just something about you that makes me want to be brave." After he left to return to his client, Beverly appeared at Natalie's side with a knowing smile. "Who was that?" "Someone new," Natalie said. "Maybe. Good for you. You deserve happiness." "I already have happiness," Natalie corrected gently. "But maybe I'm ready to share it." As the evening wound down, Natalie stood by the window looking out at the city lights, reflecting on the incredible year behind her. She thought about the woman she used to be, desperate for scraps of recognition from a man who never valued her. She thought about the moment when everything fell apart, and how that destruction had actually set her free. She thought about the career she had built, the women she was mentoring, the voice she had found, and the future that stretched out before her full of possibility. Tomorrow she had 3 client meetings and a conference call with a company in Seattle that wanted her to lead their entire rebranding campaign. Next week, she was flying to New York to speak at another conference. Next month, she was launching a mentorship program at Patterson Marketing Solutions specifically for women and junior employees. Her life was full. Not with someone else's dreams, but with her own. And if Isaiah turned out to be someone worth getting to know, that would be a lovely addition. But if it did not work out, she would still be complete, still be whole, still be exactly who she had fought so hard to become. She pulled out her phone and opened her notes app, where she kept a list of goals and reflections. At the top, she added a new entry. 1 year ago, I was invisible. Today, I am unstoppable. The best revenge is becoming someone so brilliant that the betrayal becomes irrelevant. I did not just survive. I transformed. And this is only the beginning. Natalie saved the note and put her phone away. She finished her champagne, said goodbye to Beverly and Mr. Harrison, and walked out of the ballroom with her head high. Outside, the night air was cool and refreshing. The city hummed with life around her. She stood there for a moment, breathing it all in. Then she got in her car and drove home to her beautiful apartment, to her peaceful space, to the life she had built with her own 2 hands and her brilliant mind. She had everything she needed. And for the first time in her adult life, Natalie Brooks was excited to wake up tomorrow and see what came next. Not because of someone else. Not for someone else. Just for herself.